Ladies and gentlemen, no program like this would be complete without him. It's an honor and a personal privilege for me to introduce to you the founder of the John Birch Society, Mr. Robert Welch.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My allotted time for tonight was 20 minutes, and I had prepared a speech which would take 18. But it's getting too late, and I'm going to omit the actual speech part of everything I was going to say. What I do have to cover still is the mechanics of what we are about. Tonight you've heard 6 very able men give some specific and powerful reasons why our country should not be a party to the almost infinitely evil actions and purposes of the United Nations. And in that part which we have omitted, I did try to bolster those reasons further with some ideological underpinning in order to emphasize the necessity and the importance of our campaign to get us out. Now, we embarked on that campaign in a general way as far back as 1962. But only a few months ago did we begin to develop a planned, organized, systematic drive to that end. It is now, and for the next 18 months or more, we expect that this campaign will be the major specific project of the John Birch Society. This is because the United Nations is so critical a part of the total design of the insiders for establishing their one-world communist rule, and because United States membership in the United Nations is absolutely vital to this conspiratorial plan. So here is a suitable target for the concentrated effort that we intend to give it. As with all of our projects, the core of that effort is education. We believe that the only chance of getting our country out of the United Nations is through creating sufficient understanding on the part of enough of the American people as to what the United Nations really is and what the insiders of the great conspiracy expect it to become. For this purpose, we hope to make our undertaking to get us out the most extensive and effective educational campaign by a voluntary organization in all American history. It needs to be, for the result could have some very decisive bearing on which way the tide turns at the critical point in a mighty struggle. So we undertook to plan this enterprise with care and thought proportionate to its importance. We tried to lay out various steps and activities that are realistic with regard to all of the circumstances that have a sequence and timing based on an informed appraisal of events now in the making, and that will be cumulative in their contributions to the understanding which is so desperately needed. And we are not playing games, my friends, or going through motions. We never have been. Now it is the combination of our strength, our experience, and our dedication, quite so negligible as when we used to hold these dinners in a ballroom which could seat only 600 people. Just look around you at this audience and be justifiably encouraged. Now the first step out of 4 in our total project has been to show the American people how large and how determined an opposition to the United Nations is already smoldering in all 50 states. Our signs for this purpose range from the Get Us Out envelope stickers through decalcomanias for glass surfaces, magnetized signs of various sizes for metal surfaces, and outdoor signs of several kinds up to commercial billboards of the largest size. These signs also include the one made out of 6,000 square feet of polyethylene film, occupying over an acre on a sloping hillside 1 mile from a major highway in New York State, which sign has been carefully designed for its impact on the tens of thousands of motorists using that highway a mile away. These signs include the truly colossal exhibit, which you find pictured in the March Bulletin under the title, Our Message, Texas Style. The truly colossal exhibit occupying 30 acres. Think of a sign where the sign occupies 30 acres of flat land near Houston, Texas, with letters 200 feet high and 175 feet wide. These letters are grown of a special grass, spelling out our message, for the benefit of all the small planes constantly going over that plot to and from a nearby private airport. And the sign, the picture you see, was taken from a small plane a half a mile up. It was quite a surveying job just to get those letters laid out. And then take this imported grass, which is a different color from the grass around it, and have this stand out so you can even get a very legible picture from a half mile up. It's quite something. I think Our Message, Texas Style is very good. Anyway, and also the kinds of signs we are talking about in their great multiplicity, variety, include those signs some 8 feet long but 2 feet high, which you now find on the backrest of benches at 375 bus stops right here in the city of Los Angeles. Now, all of these signs of every kind, everywhere in the country, follow our basic get-us-out design for cumulative effectiveness. We are constantly urging our members that using the appropriate signs in all suitable places without violating good taste or anybody's property rights, they should make this message fully recognized by the total population of the United States during the next 6 months, which itself is a mammoth task, but which can be done. Our second step in this total program actually begins with this dinner tonight. Please note that each of these steps is simply added to and overlaps the earlier activities. There are 4 steps altogether. There will be 2 more, one to be announced this fall and one next spring. And no step will be finished until we finally win this battle and actually get our country out of the United Nations. Now, this next step, the one we've started tonight, is the inauguration of a more direct, massive, and concentrated educational campaign than we have ever undertaken before on one specific subject. That subject is, of course, the United Nations. Our basic theme will be the United States, yes, the United Nations, no. And its clear aim will be to get us out. Now, in this campaign, we shall use books, pamphlets, and reprints, articles in both of our own magazines and articles supplied to other publications. Hundreds of live speeches handled by what is now the largest Speakers Bureau in the world, because our American Opinion Speakers Bureau has many thousands of volunteers to give it strength. It is, without question, the largest in the world. We shall also use films and film strips, records, cassettes, and reel-to-reel recordings, letters to editors and broadcasters, and eventually practically every medium of mass communication, including paid newspaper, radio, and television advertising. But we have planned to kick off this whole educational drive with a recording of this very series of speeches which you have heard here tonight. The title of this recording will be The Real United Nations. We're extremely grateful to each of the 6 distinguished gentlemen who have preceded me for carrying this torch so well over his allotted distance. To make full use of their contributions is now up to you and our total membership and all of the patriotic Americans whom we can persuade to help us. In concluding this program, let me take your minds back to 1909. The insiders of the conspiracy, amid all of their other sinister plans, were just getting ready to begin their great, long-range propaganda and pressure drive against isolationism. The very word was falsehood, coined by traitors for their subversive purposes. Ask yourselves today, being able to have the perspective of 70 years, a little more, ask yourselves today just what on earth was wrong with America's self-reliant, peaceful, and happy spirit of independence in 1909, the year I'm picking for reasons you'll see in a minute. Absolutely nothing, except that it stood in the way of a conspiracy. The insiders were already plotting to pull us into the wars which they could contrive all over the world. They would thus drag us down to the level and enmesh us in the chaos which would suit their purposes. It was at this point in history when Henry Van Dyke wrote America for Me. Today this poem would be called maudlin, corny, and jingoistic. But in it, the author captured a mood and a spirit which have now almost ceased to be. For the planned destruction of all that made America great has now almost been finished. That destruction is almost completed by the very forces at work through the United Nations. We cannot turn back a clock which has no hands, but we can take a look at what has been stolen from us and strengthen our resolution to end such destructive evil before the final damage has been done. I still read in Van Dyke's lines an inspiration today, so many years later, an inspiration to get us out. And maybe you will too. 'Tis fine to see the old world and travel up and down among the famous palaces and cities of renown, to admire the crumbling castles and the statues of the kings, but now I think I've had enough of antiquated things. So it's home again and home again, America for me. My heart is turning home again, and there I long to be, in the land of youth and freedom beyond the ocean bars, where the air is full of sunlight and the flag is full of stars. Oh, London is a man's town. There's power in the air. And Paris is a woman's town with flowers in her hair. And it's sweet to dream in Venice, and it's great to study Rome. But when it comes to living, there is no place like home. I like the German fir woods in green battalions drilled. I like the gardens of Versailles with flashing fountains filled. But oh, to take your hand, my dear, and ramble for a day in the friendly western woodland where nature has her way. I know that Europe's wonderful, yet something seems to lack. The past is too much with her, and people looking back. But the glory of the present is to make the future free. We love our land for what she is and what she is to be. And it's home again and home again, America for me. I want a ship that's westward bound to plow the rolling sea, to the blessed land of room enough beyond the ocean bars, where the air is full of sunlight and the flag is full of stars. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to ask you a minute. Let me just say this. I knew I had another line to add, but I didn't want to hold you up. After reading that, I just want to say, let's resolve to stand on our own feet and be true to our own magnificent destiny once again, my friends. And after that, may God be with you till we meet again. Thank you.